Hello everyone, this is Shaanee from Dream English. So I have received a few requests from other students or our own students that they are facing the same difficulties about their reorder paragraphs, which I totally understand. First of all, in the entire exam, reading is actually the only part that does require your basic English. You need to have a proper understanding about the English, and a lot of us, we're actually not having a good concept about what is the basic grammar, vocabularies, and how we find the connectors, and those kind of things are pretty difficult, which totally understand. So I come up with this video to help you for your reorders. I do have a few strategies. So different questions, you do apply different method. There is no such thing called one method applied to all the different questions. So now let's look at the different tasks, and then I will take certain real exam question reorders to help you to explain and apply different methods. So hope it will help you have a better understanding about your reorder. On top of that, reorder is something that it requires a lot of practice, because practice makes you perfect. If you don't practice, obviously, if you start to do those reorder paragraphs, you find it's really difficult for you to find connectors, and it might be really difficult for you to understand the logical connections. So now let's look at the theory part. So what kind of method that we can apply? So first of all, something that is easy, so we can use is the connectors, the pronouns. So now let's look at our basic rules. So first of all, I encourage you what to do for the first step. For number one, step one. So we look for the first sentence, which I call them topic sentence. Okay, the topic sentence normally have something has unique word. So what kind of the unique words? They can be name, they can be event, they can be act, they can be any function, or they can be animal, or they can be some time, or they can be an actual or etc. It can be any research. So something that is unique has been mentioned for the first time. That can be your topic sentence. Okay. Alright, so on top of that, what we can do is we read this sentence to see if this sentence can stand alone. So this sentence can stand alone. So what does stand alone mean? That when we read this sentence, we know the basic idea of the entire paragraph. Okay, so once we found this topic sentence, what I would like you guys to do is to read this sentence again, read it, and then remember the meaning of this sentence. Okay, so why we remember the meaning of these sentences? The reason why is we try to remember the storyline, and we are going to use this sentence to match with the other sentence. So what we're going to do is we read this sentence, we clearly know, okay, what does this sentence about to me? And then afterwards, then use this sentence as a mirror to match the other sentences. So you use this sentence as a mirror to match the other sentences. How are we going to do this? So you basically got the whole concept of the meaning of these sentences, and then you just take this sentence meaning to match the other sentence. See if the similar concept or the similar meaning has been mentioned in the other sentence. If yes, that will be the following sentence. If no, that will be somewhere else. Okay, so that's one of this method that you can use. This one you normally use for some very difficult passages that doesn't have any obvious connectors or they don't have any obvious pronouns. So this is the way that you can use for all of the questions. So this is your method one. So I will put a dot over here, so at least you know. Okay, so next method is you use your pronouns. Okay, the pronoun method is quite useful because it will help you to at least get one correct pairs. Because for the reorder paragraphs, you get marked by the correct pairs. Okay, so what kind of the pronouns that we can use? Number 1. So we have those kind of pronouns that we mentioned for the second time. Ate, eats, that, this, which. So those appearance, those pronouns mean something has been mentioned before. So you need to look for a sentence before these sentences, and they are singular. Okay, another method is the same, basically, is something plural. You have they, those, this. This something mentioned before, and they are plural. Okay, and for the singular ones, we also have the person, he or she. Okay, so that's this part. And let's see some other connectors. So other connectors, for example, yeah, however. Okay, as for the connectors, what we can use is, first of all, be very careful. There are certain connectors that there are certain connectors that help us find the previous sentences easily. However, yet, but, and we have although. So those connectors help you to find the previous contents easily, because you just need to look for previous sentences with opposite meaning. Yeah, that will 100% help you to find the previous sentence, because at least you will get one pair correct. Okay, and there are a few other connectors, like for example, others or then. So if you see those words, you need to look for another sentence coming after. So for example, they will see then a lot of problems are happening, or there are other factors influencing certain things. Then the sentence about other factors or about a series of problems will be mentioned below this sentence. Okay, and then there are certain things about instead. If you see the word of instead, then something has been replaced or removed. Maybe from previous sentence, maybe from the following sentences. So this is something that you have to decide on your own. Okay, apart from that, you have the other method, which is the time. I call them time sequence. Okay, for the time sequence is something that I think you might get very confused. So what kind of things are applying to time sequence? So time sequence, you need to be a bit careful. The date. If you have time sequence, for example, like PM, Justin, lights off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you have like PM or small days, then time sequence works. Okay. But however, if you have year, then you need to be very careful. So why we need to be careful? So first of all, if your first sentence started from a smaller time, then time sequence works. For example, if you have 2019, you have 1990, and you have 1850, and if you have 1500. So if your first sentence is starting from 1500, and then then most likely then your time sequence will work, and then you will go to look for the other sequences from 1850, 1900, 1990, and 2019. But however, if your first sentence started from a bigger year, then time sequence might not work. Okay, so under the same case, if your first time starting from a bigger time, let's say starting from 1900, and obviously the time sequence is not going to work under this case. So big no, no, no. Okay. And then if under this case, it might be yes. So you need to be careful about your time sequence. Okay, so now let's take a few examples. We're going to talk about how we're going to use it. Okay, apart from your time sequence, there is something that we use not really often, which is something that I normally introduce to our students in the class, which is called your subject, verb, subject and object method. So I'd write this in the capital. Subject and object method. So the next one that we normally introduce in the class is something called subject and object. So subject and object is something that can help you a lot in the under a case that you don't understand the content of the passage. So what kind of thing we do? So first of all, after finding out after the topic sentence, what you can do is to read this sentence, then find out the subject and find out the subject and the object. And then what we need to do is to use the object to match another sentence with similar content. Yeah, so under this case, it helps you to use your subject and object so you can find connections easily with the other parts. Okay, now we're taking a few examples to see how we apply those methods with different method. So first of all, we're starting from our pronouns and subject and object method. Okay, so this one is basically pronoun. Okay, so first one. So let's read this sentence. You can pause the screen for a second to solve this problem. So let's read them together. So clearly, when we see clearly, obviously something has been mentioned before. This is not your topic sentence. Okay, so clearly a number of factors have contributed to A's remarkable appearance. There is an A's, so there must be something has been mentioned before. So obviously, this is not A's. This is not your topic sentence. It's about what? The subject is factors. Object is remarkable appearance. Remarkable appearance. It's remarkable appearance. So we keep this one. And the next one is the result. Yeah. Okay. Before that, we need to actually talk about your conclusion part. So the last sentence. And then we talk about the last sentence. The last sentence is more about conclusive word. If you see anything about therefore, in short, or the result, those kind of words are 100% your conclusion word. Conclusion, and also the conclusion can also be the introduction of a new topic. Okay, so this will be your conclusion sentence. This will be your last sentence. Okay, let's use blue. Okay, now let's take an example. We have several examples. So the first example, we are applying pronoun, subject, and object method. So we start to read. If you want, you can pause your screen for a second to read these sentences first of all. So first one, we see the clearly, and we see a large number of so and so appearance. So we see this is not your topic sentence, and you have its. Obviously, something has been mentioned before. And then the object is remarkable appearance. Now we continue to read the second sentence. We have the result. When we see the result, normally we consider that as our last sentence. Result is what? A unique story of land cohesions and erosions and of rising and falling water levels. This sounds quite conclusive, so I will consider this as my conclusion sentence at the beginning. So I will put B at here. Now, we read the third sentence. Third sentence, experts who have analyzed the rock formations. The rock formation, that must be something has been mentioned before. The rock formations. So historically, it go back nearly 2 million years ago. So this object has a time. It's called 2 million years ago. Okay, so we're going to continue. And then next one. So obviously, C is not the topic sentence because we have the rock, which is something we mentioned before. D. Anyone who has ever visited the Great Canyon will agree that it is one of the most incredible sights in the world. So anyone who has visited the Great Canyon, so we have something that is quite unique over here. So something unique, the Great Canyon. It is one of the most incredible sights. So the object is the most incredible sight in the world. So that's your object. Okay, now we think about this. So far, this is the only sentence that has something that's quite unique. And when we look at it, we know this is about the Great Canyon. Okay, so now we consider D is your topic sentence, but we just double check with E. So the geological process, there must be a process, right? So related to something, the geological process that has been taken place since then, there must be a time mentioned before. Since then, there must be a time. Are exposed to everyone for seen not hidden beneath vegetation or fast flowing watercourse. So far we know E is 100% not your topic sentence. Now we have our last option, which is D. Once we find D, we read D again. D's object is the most incredible sights. And which sentence mentioned something about incredible sights, which is A, remarkable appearance, which we put A after the D. And then we continue. So we have C and we have E left. We need to decide which one comes after. E, we see since then. There must be a time mentioned before. A, B, C, D, E, we only have C has a time mentioned before. That means C must be before E. And then your order is done. So you got the correct answer now. Okay, so this is your number 1 method. Now, number 2, we are taking this as an example again. So this one using the similar strategy. So first of all, we read the question again. So you can pause the screen. So yet. So there must be something mentioned before is completely different. Whenever he was hungry, there must be a he, there must be some name mentioned before. He was hungry, he got up and propelled himself straight to the kitchen to get something to eat. So the object in here is to the kitchen to get something to eat. Now, this is not your topic sentence. Now we continue the second one. In 1992, there's a time a retired engineer in San Diego. So there's a name over here in San Diego. A rare brain disease that wiped out his memory. So the object in here is a brain disease that wiped out someone's memory. So this is your object in here. So now we continue. So this one sounds like, okay, there's something unique and I know this is a story of someone lost his memory. C, study of this man. Which man? There must be this man mentioned in B. So 100% this is not your topic sentence. A breakthrough. What kind of a breakthrough? The part of a brain where habits were stored has nothing to do with memory. So the object is habits were stored. Habits were stored and has nothing to do with memory. So this is your object, and we're going to keep this part, and then we continue to read. And every day he was asked, so that means something has been mentioned before. So that means this is not your topic sentence. He was asked about what the object is. He go to find out where is the kitchen, and then the answer is he didn't have the foggiest idea. So this is your object. He was trying to find the kitchen. He doesn't have idea. And E, ate offered. Something was ate. There must be a storyline before. Proved to this person more than a century ago that humans are what? Mere working bundles of habits. So this must be something about conclusive. It looks like conclusive, but we don't know yet. So now we need to decide which sentence that has something that was not mentioned before, and we can consider that as your B, because B mentioned about a person's name and something mentioned for the first time. And then we read B. B, the object is a rare brain disease wiped out someone's memory. If someone's memory got wiped out, then we're going to use this sentence to match which sentence that mentioned something about wiped out his memory. So A said he's hungry. He can go to the kitchen. There must be something mentioned before about kitchen and he couldn't find food because A said yet. So we find D mentioned about the kitchen and he couldn't find food. So first of all, we can put E, D and A together. D and A are together. because there is a yet. And then now we need to decide B. B said he doesn't have memory, and we're going to use B to match another sentence that something related to his memory. And A, we already used it, and then we have our C left. C mentioned about habits, so must some sentence mentioned before. And then we had E. E is about a working bundle. Humans are a working bundle of habits. So E obviously is not after B, because B mentioned about no memory. And then we only have D mentioned about don't have the focused idea. So B and D are together. And now we have C and E left. We need to decide which one is more conclusive. Compare with E and C, we can read that humans are bundle of habits. And C talks about habits are stored, nothing to do with memory. So obviously, E is more conclusive than C. So it's C and E. Okay, so this is our two practices about how to use our pronoun subject and object. Now continue to do the other method. This method is about we use the meaning. Okay, so the meaning method. So the meaning method in here, first of all, again, we need to read the whole passage. Okay, so we're going to read the entire passage. So first of all, we need to decide this one is something difficult. So when we read the passage, for one thing, the use of language is universal. All normally developed children learn to speak at least one language, and many more learn more than one. So this is the objective about language is universal, and some people can learn one, some people actually can learn more. This is your object. Okay, and then they're mentioned about for one thing. Now, B, it says it is wrong, however. So the sentence can be changed into however it is wrong, or what? To exaggerate the similarity between language and cognitive skills. Because language stands apart in several ways. So this is something that we can remember. Okay, language stands apart in several ways. And C talks about by contrast. There must be something mentioned before is different. Not everyone become proficient at complex mathematical reasoning. Few people learn to paint, and many people cannot carry a tune. So this is something quite different before, right? So we keep in mind. And then D talks about the but, just the opposite. What kind of opposite? Language is one of the most complexes of human cognitive skills. So this talks about the language and cognitive skills that connections. And E talks about because there must be a reason before. Because what? Everyone is capable of learning to speak and understand language. Speak and understand language. And it seems quite simple. Okay, so now we need to decide which sentence is kind of something that I mentioned before and had something that is unique. So far, we have two sentences about language and cognitive skills, which are B and D. So B and D are two sentences talking about the similar thing. So what we can do is, you have two options. B and D are either together, or B and D are one as a topic sentence, one as conclusion. So we need to decide which one is better. So we consider the first one. If B and D are together, and D talks about language is one of the cognitive skills, we need to looking for another sentence talk about cognitive skills, which we only have C. And C started with by contrast. Obviously, D and C are not, C cannot after D. So that means this is wrong. Okay, so now we need to decide something that B started first. If B started first, B ended up with saying that language stands apart in several ways. And we need to start to ask ourselves, which sentence talk about language stand apart in several ways? Which sentence mentioned about language alone? So we have E talks about the language is simple, and we have A talks about language is universal. Stand apart in several ways, and language is universal. This is something quite closer. So we're going to put A after your B. And after A, we read A again. A said, you have some people can learn one language, some people can learn more. So we're going to use the meaning of this sentence to match with another sentence. So we have used B, we have used the D, and we're going to use A to match another sentence. So this one talks about you can learn one thing or you can learn more things. And then we're going to match with C. Does C mention the similar thing, or E mentioned about the similar thing? So A talks about some people can learn one language, some people learn about more languages, and this whole topic about B is about connections between language and cognitive skills. So the most closer one should be C, because C talked about cognitive skills. Some people, by contrast is a comparison. You compare with something. So which one you're comparing? C talks about cognitive skills. And then we are comparing with the language and cognitive skills. So obviously C is after A. Now we only have one option left. We have E left. So E has to be before your D. So now your order finished. So this one is wrong. Before the assumption one was wrong. Okay, so this is about the meaning method. There is another method. So I think this one is pretty easy, so we're not going to use this one to practice. Now, next one. Next one is about using a singular and plural method to practice. This one I found is quite useful. Certain time that the passage is quite short. So how do we use this? So first of all, without reading this one, you can see this sentence starting from 8. It is, there must be a singular, and this sentence starting with has become a discussion, has become a discussion. There must be something singular. And then here they have the issues. There must be something plural. The issues are something. And then we have these discussions. There must be a plural, focus on present day dilemma. So far we can see A and B are together, C and D are together. Now we need to decide which one comes first. So first of all, A is something mentioned for the second time. So A is not the topic sentence. It has to be B before B. And C and D are all second time mentioning, so they are not together. So now we need to decide, is C first or D first? So A ended up with is a recurrent theme. And then C had a but the issues themselves. So there must be something mentioned before. So it has to be D and C. So you're done. So this one is very simple. You just need to use singular and plural. You will get at least 2 marks. Okay, so now we talk about the last one. Last one is about time. Time is something that is quite confusing sometimes for certain students because once you see year and you start to use year. So when you see time, as I mentioned before, when you see smaller time, time always works because you have 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 4 p.m., it always works. But however, if you see year is quite different. Now we look at the time. When you look at this sentence before reading, you see 8:40 and you see 9 p.m. So obviously, D and C are together and D has to be before C. They has to be in this order. Now we need to decide A and B, which one start first. A starting with it's about something, then obviously A is not your topic sentence. And then we have B. Then we read B, fireworks and special effects, including so and so, would do something. So obviously B is your topic sentence. Okay, so B is our topic sentence. We need to decide where we are going to put A. So C ended up with saying that 9 o'clock there's a function. So in total, D and C has 2 functions for these fireworks and special events. And A is about how people are so affected by the harbor and the surrounds. And then how it affects all of the people and moves us. So this council, this person from this council mentioned about how this is how it's about the fireworks at 9 p.m. or it's about the entire fireworks and the effects. And in this case, 8. It's about the entire firework and special effects. So A is after B. So now we're getting all the correct. This is a small practice about timing. It's mainly about D and C practice. Now let's look at the next question. Next question is all having a lot of times here. So you have different times. A lot of students started this question. They're really happy because they see 3 times. Okay, so what they did was they did C, and then they did B, and then they did D, and then they found A, which is wrong. So now let's look at this. So first of all, whether you have time or not, your first thing to do is to find out your topic sentence. So you read all those questions. So hey, when you see hey, there must be something mentioned before. So 100% this is not your topic sentence. B8 become the capital of Florida. Again, something mentioned before. And the town had flourished. There must be again something mentioned before. The town, which town? So those are absolutely not your topic sentence. So we only have one option left, which is D. D starting from a bigger time. That means time sequence is not working in here. So you're going to read the story again to decide. So you have D. D obviously has a guy's name mentioning here. So obviously D is your topic sentence and we only have A mentioned about a person's name. So A is after D. And now we have C and D, the tongue. And D mentioned become the capital. And C talks about the flourish. So you become a capital after being flourished. So it's obviously C and then your B. And then your order finished. Okay, so those are all the methods that we are encouraging to you. We teach our students in the class, and also this is a method that I suggest all of you guys to use. So far you can actually see there is no one method fits for one particular reorder paragraph. You actually combine with all different methods for different questions. Maybe you need to use 2 methods for one question, or maybe 3 of them, but doesn't matter. So what matters is you need to get at least 2 marks. That means whether you get 4 sentences or 5 sentences, you need to make sure that you get at least 2 pairs correct, and then you'll be okay. Doesn't matter you're getting 1 wrong or 2 wrong. You get 2 marks, you are closer to your 79 than you getting 1 mark or 0. So all the best, guys. Hope this will help you. If you have any question or you have any particular reorder that you don't understand, you are welcome to post in the comments. And also you're welcome to join our D team on Facebook. We do have live lessons every Friday evening. And if you like this lesson, give us some support and follow us on the YouTube and also Facebook. We will update you with more questions and more materials and more videos according to your needs. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Subscribe.
And also please subscribe us on the YouTube. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. I mentioned this part. I said follow us on the YouTube.
Yeah, but YouTube is subscribe.
Okay, whatever. Okay, done.
So this is weekly?
This is weekly.